Hi everybody, this is Tamara from Moogly, and I want to welcome you today to a live tutorial for the Say Oui Jar Cozy, which is a new free pattern on mooglyblog.com that we've put up this year just in time for Valentine's Day. So, with Valentine's Day right around the corner, I wanted to make sure to get a tutorial in for this one right away, so we're doing it live today here on YouTube. You may be watching this later, recorded. I will be putting it up on mooglyblog.com as well, where you'll also find the free written pattern for, again, this is the Say Oui, and that's O-U-I, the French way, Say Oui Jar Cozy. I'm going to hit refresh real quick here on my laptop so I can make sure to follow along and answer any questions you might have here since we are live. Just takes a little moment to load it all up here and head on over to our video, and there we are. So once again, welcome. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe so you can see all of our future lives and get notified anytime we do put up new tutorial videos. So once again, today we are making a Say Oui Jar Cozy. Now this is for those little wee yogurt jars. I don't know about you guys, but I love these little jars. I'm definitely a jar hoarder. I love collecting all the pretty little jars from the kitchen, right? You got to throw them in the dishwasher, and some of them are just too cute to get rid of. So I wanted to do something for the wee jar. I wanted to do something, like I say, really quick for Valentine's Day. And to me, when I think quick, I think thick yarn, I think stash buster, I think make it in an afternoon, and I think this jar cozy hits all those points. Here it is right here. It looks cuter with some things in it, but you can see there's a wee yogurt jar inside, and we've used the crocodile stitch to create this great outer, and I did a little extra round to turn them into hearts at the end. So you could fill this with candy, flowers. Personally, I love the look of it with a little votive candle inside, but let's go ahead and go over to the hand camera and take a closer look, and then we'll go ahead and make one today together. It really is a wonderfully quick project. All right. Hi, Angela. Hi, Kim. Hi, CH10, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. All right. Here we have the Say Oui Jar Cozy in the flesh, so to speak. You can see the jar is right in here. It does actually stand up pretty well on its own. So if you don't have the jar, you could go ahead and make this. I wouldn't put a candle in it at this point or candy. It will fall out, but you could definitely still make it as a cute little project on its own. You can see from the top, it kind of looks floral. It looks a little bit like flower petals coming out, but the jar fits right snug inside there. And here we've got those crocodile stitches, and it looks like tarts in the top round. I've even got a little tea light here so you can see. Obviously, it's a battery operated one, so it's safe here, but you can see just a little bit. It's harder to see with all the lights up. You can see a little bit of light pokes through there. So it's just a really fun multi-use project that, as I say, you can whip up with about 30 yards of yarn, which is fantastic. Now, to make it this quick and easy, we're using Bernat Blanket, which is a 6-weight super bulky yarn. So this is perfect for this project. Comes in lots of beautiful colors. So many of us have, little bits and bobs here left over from other projects, and if not, you can purchase it right at your local yarn store. I'm also using a USL 8mm crochet hook. This one happens to be by Susan Bates. And that's really all the supplies that we need for this pattern. Again, this is the Say Oui Jar Cozy with the link in the description if you want to follow along with the written pattern. Now, like I say, this is a stash buster. I have a partial ball here of Bernat Blanket that I've used for a few other projects. So I'm going to start by pulling up some of my yardage. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining in on our live. All right. So now that I've pulled up some yardage, we'll find our end. You can see here is a copy of the PDF that is also available, so I can follow along as well. And we are going to be using the crocodile scale stitches, but the bottom of the cozy itself, you can see right here, are just some simple stitches. We want some nice flat stitches for this to rest on. So we're going to start by making a magic circle. Lots of different ways to make these. My favorite way is I come in several inches from the end of the yarn, and on my non-hook hand, I'm going to go over my finger, basically yarning over twice, just like that. So the tail end is facing towards me. Then I'm going to insert my hook under both of those loops, grab the furthest one back. You can see I'm holding on to both ends of that yarn here with that hand. I'm just going to pull that right under the edge. So I'm holding this one still in front. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull a loop through. This sort of locks it together, and now I can crochet into that ring. Again, this is just my favorite way of doing it. Now our first stitch after making our magic circle is a chainless standing double crochet. So we want to pull up, or a chainless starting double crochet. I always get those mixed up on the names. Sorry about that. The CSDC. Again, I have separate tutorials for this on my channel, but I'll show you how to do it right now. We're going to pull that loop up about to the height of a double crochet, and then I'm going to use my finger to secure the top of that loop on the hook, and then yarn over with the loop itself. Then I'm going to insert my hook into that ring, and I'm going to go under both of those loops, the one that's all the way around my finger and the one that's hanging off the front there. Then I'll yarn over again, pull that loop up and through, yarn over, pull through that loop and behind the yarn over. Give it a little extra tug if you need to there. This is a textured yarn, so it can be a little trickier. Now I'll just yarn over and pull through those last two loops. There we go. Now my magic ring is held open and I've got my first double crochet. Now that was a little bit complicated. If you don't want to make the chainless starting double crochet, you can instead chain 3 or do stacked single crochets, whatever you like to do for a double crochet substitute. You can do it however you like. Then we need 11 more double crochets right into that ring. So we want a total of 12 double crochets. This is the bottom of the jar. So if you don't want to use a fancy stitch and you just want to chain 3 instead, it's literally what's going to be between the jar and the table. So you don't have to worry about it being, the prettiest stitch. Whatever stitch you like to make for your double crochet is totally fine. So I'm just working on getting a total of 12 double crochets into the ring. Now again, and if you don't like the magic circle, if you like to use an adjustable ring or you prefer to chain a couple and then just work into that first chain you made, it also works too. Our whole point is just to get 12 double crochets in a ring. So whatever your favorite method to use, if you're an experienced crocheter, you can go ahead and get those done however you like. Now, I can't chat and count at the same time, so let's see how many we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh gosh, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more needed. Now, every time I go in that ring, you can see here, sometimes as I'm making it, I need to pull that tail through, but every time I go in that ring, I'm going around both of those. I'm in that ring itself and I'm catching or going around that tail end as well. That's going to be really important. So let's get those last 2 on there, 1 and 2, and then double check to make sure we've hit 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alrighty. So round 1, we've got our 12 double crochets all into that ring. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull really gently on that tail end. I want to do just a little bit at a time because I want to pull, there we go, that center close. This yarn, however, can break if you pull hard enough. So that's why I like to pull just a little bit at a time really gently. Now that center is closed. When I go to weave in this end, I'm going to make sure that when I take my needle, I go both directions around that ring, and that will really lock that into place. So now, last thing we need to do, of course, is slip stitch to the top of that chainless starting double crochet or the chain 3, whatever your first double crochet was. We just want a solid ring of 12 double crochets. So that's round 1. Round 2, we need to do a little bit of increasing to take us over that bottom lip of the jar. So I'm going to start with a chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch, 2 single crochets in the stitch after that. And that's our repeat. 1, then 2, 1, then 2. So 1 in the next, 2 in the one after that, 1 and 2. So by increasing in every other stitch, we will add 6 stitches for a total of 18 stitches at the end of round 2. I'm about just over halfway there now, but we're just alternating back and forth. So once again, thank you so much to all who are joining us for this live tutorial, and thank you too if you're watching it later on record. Really appreciate your support of our YouTube channel here on Moogly. Alrighty, now got 2 single crochets in this one. That should be all of them. That's my slip stitch right there, but it's always a good idea to go back and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So with 18 stitches made, I always like to count before I join, makes it a little easier to see where you began and ended. Now we go ahead and slip stitch right there for round 2. Now it's cupping up a little bit. That's totally fine. If we look at it here, you can see that's the row we just made. It cups up around the bottom edge of the jar there. So round 3 is where we get to start our crocodile stitches. The whole thing is only 7 rounds, so we're, a third of the way done already. So now for round 3, we need to make another one of those chainless starting double crochets, or again, a chain 3, whichever you prefer for your first double crochet of a round or a row. So I'm going to pull up that loop, secure it and yarn over, insert my hook right into that first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through that loop and behind the yarn over, and then yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops right there. Now I need to pull up a little bit more yarn from my skein. We've run through everything I'd already pulled up. There we go. All right, so now we've got that first double crochet made, however you like to make it. Then we're going to chain 1. So if you did do a chain 3, you'd chain 3 and then chain 1 again. So that'd be a total of a chain 4. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. 1, let's see, we worked in that one right there. So we want to skip 1 and 2. So that'll be the stitch we work into. And then we're going to put 2 double crochets in that stitch. So there's 1, whoop, and 2, right into the same stitch, like so. Then we chain 2 and skip 2 stitches again, 1, 2. So there's the next stitch we'll work into. Then we begin our repeat. We double crochet in the next stitch. Let's bring that up a little closer there. So this is the first stitch of our repeat. Double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2, then chain 2, 1, 2, and skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we begin again. Because this is just a little jar cozy, this will be the last repeat. Double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, 2 double crochets in the next stitch. There's our second one. Chain 2, 1, 2. There we are. Skip those last 2 stitches, and then we'll join to the top of that first chain 3. So this would be the third round. We've got a double crochet, chain 1, skip 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet, chain 1, skip 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, and then one more time, double crochet, chain 1, skip 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, skip 2. So if you needed to make this for a bigger jar, for example, you would want to make sure that you have a multiple of 6 stitches, because there were 18 stitches in round 2, and we have 3 repeats for our crocodile stitch. The double crochet followed by a pair of double crochets. Those are the repeats we need for our crocodile stitch. And this is something, again, I also have a separate tutorial for up here on the YouTube channel. So now I'm going to go ahead and join to the top of that first double crochet I made, whether that was a chain 3 or a stacked single crochet, however you like to do it. This is the framework for where we apply and put on those crocodile stitches. So if you haven't made crocodile scale stitches before, they're a lot of fun. And a lot of times we talk about them being worked like front post stitches, and they are, because we're going around the posts of these stitches. So they have something in common with post stitches, and they also have something in common with wiggle crochet, where we sort of put multiple stitches around a post and then going one direction, and then multiple stitches around the next post going in the opposite direction. So I just love making associations like that, because a lot of times you'll hear about new techniques and say, wow, I don't know how to do that. But really, they're just building on the stitches you already know. So for this crocodile scale stitch, we want to start where we've connected that first double crochet. The crocodile scale itself will be worked around the pairs of double crochets. So the first thing we do is we're going to go ahead and work 5 double crochets around the post of this first one of the pair. So we want to start at the top, and we come right around it like for a front post double crochet, just like we normally would. So there's 1. Now we're going to do 4 more, and we're just going to put each one underneath the previous one. So there's 2. Let's bring that a little closer here. 3, You can see I'm not worried about making it look like a crocodile scale stitch or anything right now. I'm just getting those stitches in. So there's 3. Need a little bit more room. I can shove those up a little bit on that post. There's 4. And then there's 5. There we are. So right now it's sticking up like that, but if I hold it down, you can see it looks a little bit like the first half of our crocodile scale stitch, which I think if you're looking at it, you haven't made it before, you don't realize those crocodile scale stitches you see are actually the backs of your double crochet stitches. So we've worked 5 double crochets around the first of that pair, and then we're going to go ahead, chain 1. I like to put a little chain 1 at the bottom. I think it adds a little bit more of a point. You can chain 2 or skip it if you prefer, if you like the look better. And now we're going to put 5 double crochets around that next post, but we're going to be moving from the bottom of that post towards the top. So we're going to yarn over and just go right around that one, but in the opposite direction, working back up towards the top of the stitch. So there's our first one. So there's 1 and 2 and 3. You can see I'm just putting them right next to each other, just like if we were working into a chain space, really. Very similar. 4, essentially the same action. And, oh, my yarn got a little tight. Need to pull up a little bit more here. And get that yarned over. Squeeze that last one in there. And there's 5. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and I'll show you the crocodile stitch after we do it, we want to find that next single crochet, and it's a double crochet. I keep calling them single crochets, but it's the one that's all by itself, the lonely double crochet, if you will. So we're going to go in there and just go ahead and put a slip stitch right in there. And now we can come back and look, and there's that first big crocodile scale, that first big crocodile stitch. Now we need to do that twice more to get around this first row. You can see now we're back at a double crochet all by itself. We've got another pair coming up. So we do the same thing. 5 double crochets around the first one. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Just like that. It's just double crochets. Chain 1. Now we need to turn the whole project around so we can start working up that next in the pair. Go right at the bottom. Like I say, it's a front post stitch, but it also kind of feels like you're just going into a big space right there. Once you get the hang of these crocodile stitches, if you haven't made them before, they're a lot of fun, and they really do go pretty quickly. When I first thought of this pattern, I actually thought about making this little cozy in something like Peyton's Croy socks, something really light, a fingering weight for something really small and delicate looking, but I think that would take several hours. If you wanted to adjust this pattern to use with a smaller yarn, you absolutely could, but it's going to take a whole lot longer. Now, so we've got another crocodile stitch, scale stitch made. We need to anchor down that other side of it with a slip stitch in that double crochet right there. And now we've got one more, you can see right here, one more pair of double crochets that we can make another crocodile scale stitch into. So the same thing, 5 around the first one. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we chain 1, and then 5 double crochets on the other one, starting at the bottom. 1, pull up some more yarn. Like I said, the whole thing takes, is it 30 or 40? 30 yards. 30 yards of yarn. But I don't like to pull up quite that much to begin with because, of course, you run the risk of it getting tangled. So I usually only pull up a couple yards at a time. So there's 4 and 5. There we are. Our third scale stitch is done. Now we're right back to that first one that we did. So we actually want to try and slip stitch to that first double crochet. You can go ahead and just flip your crocodile stitch up. You don't have to worry about, coming in from some funny angle. Just get it where it's easy for you. And then you can slip stitch right in there. And there is what it should look like after round 4. Round 3 was setting up with our double crochets. Round 4, we put on those scales. So round 5, we're going to set up for our second round of scales, the ones that are at the top of our jar. So what we need to do now is slip stitch over to the center of that first crocodile stitch we made, because you can see these are offset. We're going to want to put a single crochet right there. So what I like to do, rather than slip stitching into the top of that scale, I'm going to find that chain 2 behind there. Let's put a slip stitch or 2 in there. We'll use that to travel with, because that's going to be totally hidden behind those scales. Then we get to the center of that scale, we can put a slip stitch right there. And now we're ready to start round 5. We need another double crochet right here. So you can, again, chain 3, whatever you like to do. However you like to put a double crochet to begin a round is totally fine. The double crochets, these double crochets aren't the star of the show here. They get pretty well hidden. Then we chain 1, and now we're going to work 2 double crochets in the next slip stitch. So that's right here. It's that stitch right in between those. So again, you can kind of flip that up if you want to, make it a little easier. 1 and 2. If it's hard to get into that slip stitch, you can kind of, fold it over and just go into the top there. Again, this is all going to get covered up. So wherever you can get your hook to go in there and stay, you're all set. Then we chain 2. And then we begin the repeat that we'll do twice. We double crochet in the center of the next scale. You can see I just go right in the center there. Then I chain 1, then double crochet in between those next 2 scales, wherever you can get your hook to go in there. These double crochets are just going to be the support for our next set of scales. And of course then we chain 2, 1, 2, and do that again. Double crochet in the center of the next scale, and chain 1, pull up some more yarn first, there we go, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets in that next slip stitch. Ooh, sometimes those slip stitches can be a little tight, so if you find that your slip stitches tend to be a little tight, the cure for that is to make sure you always take a little pause before you go ahead and pull that loop on through as you're making this stitch. That tends to open them up a little bit. So we've put 2 double crochets in there, so we'll chain 2 again. And of course, that's taken us all the way around. We've got that first double crochet right there, so we want to make sure we get a slip stitch right in the top of that. So chain 3, again, chainless starting double crochet, whatever you like to use. So that is what it should look like at the end of round 5. Round 6, we're going to repeat round 4, which was our crocodile scale stitches again. Same thing. We're on a single double crochet, a double crochet all by itself, and then we've got our first of our paired ones here. Seems somehow appropriate for Valentine's Day, right? That we're concentrating on our pairs here for some reason. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and pull up a little bit more yarn again. And 5. Awesome. All right, 5 double crochets around that first of the pairs. We chain 1 again. And just turn your whole work right around. Make it easy. You don't always have to approach from, one particular angle. You can move it around to make it easier to get your stitches in there. So there's 3, 4, and 5. Hi, welcome everybody who's just joining us. We're doing a jar cozy tutorial for upcycling all your cute little kitchen jars for Valentine's Day. So we've got that crocodile stitch made. We need to secure it with a slip stitch in that next double crochet. Excuse me, just getting over a little bit of a winter cold here. It always seems to happen in February, right? All right, time for our next one. That's the first one of our second layer of crocodile stitches here. So we've got 2 more to go. And then, you guys, we started this just not even quite, what would be 20, 25 minutes ago, and we are almost done with the whole project. All live right here. So you can see how long it really does take to make one of these. So if you've got, these are great for gifting, to your kids, to your friends, to family, to coworkers, loved ones. You can fill them with whatever you like, candy, candles, flowers, of course. And if you do use specifically the Oui jars, I've linked on a couple places in the pattern to them. They have so many cute little lids that you can get for them now too. So you can get little cork lids and little wooden lids. You could even purchase one of those lids and put the cozy on it and turn it into a whole thing. I love the idea of filling these jars with little notes or date night ideas. It's just a really, really fun way to use up some yarn and, make a little something special. There's our second crocodile stitch. So now we will go right into that next double crochet with a slip stitch. And we've got one more to make. And then they do look like hearts, but we're going to turn them even more into hearts here in our next round. Just got to get that last crocodile stitch on here. So there's 3, 4. So if you've been intimidated by the crocodile stitch before, you can see it's really just double crochets. That's really all there is to it. It's just a matter of where you're putting them. And if you've tried crocodile stitch, but you haven't tried wiggle crochet before, well, you actually have. It's all related. It's one of the wonderful things I think about crochet. All of these different fancy stitches, quote unquote fancy stitches, really just build on skills that most of us learned right as we were beginning to learn to crochet. So it's got 3, 4, and 5. All right, that was our last one there. So now, of course, we're back to that first double crochet we started at, so we can just kind of flip up that first double crochet we made in that first scale and join to that. Or again, right in the middle of that, join to the slip stitch, whatever is easy. Now, what we're going to do, we're not going to slip stitch over to the center of this one. We're done making our crocodile stitches, but we want to turn them a little bit more into hearts. So we're not going to chain one or anything, but we are going to be working around the first and the last double crochet of each scale. So the first things first, we're going to work a single crochet, 2 double crochets, and a single crochet around that first double crochet right there. So officially, again, they're post stitches because we're going around to the post of the stitch, but we're going to be working down that one and officially up the next one, starting at the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that together. I'm going to go right around that first double crochet of the scale and make a single crochet, and then yarn over, make a double crochet, 1, 2, and then another single crochet. And now you can see we've added that top curve to the first half of our heart. So now we do the same thing. Oh, at first we slip stitch into the center. Gotta tack that down. There we go. Then we are going to do the same thing on the second half here, because of course we want them to be symmetrical. So just use your fingers and really find that last double crochet, pull it out, make it easy for yourself. Get that hook in there, single crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. There's 1 and 2, and then another single crochet. And then that brings us back to a double crochet right in the middle there. Well, a slip stitch officially, so we can slip stitch right in there. And then we do the same thing on the next one. Find that first double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, double crochet, and single crochet. Slip stitch into the center of the heart. We want that to be really nice and tight there. We're not going to be working into any of these stitches anymore. This is our last round, so you can go ahead and make those slip stitches on this round really nice and tight. Find that last one, same thing. Single crochet, double crochet, double crochet, followed by a single crochet. Slip stitch in the slip stitch or the double crochet, wherever you can get, wherever it looks good, There we are. And you can see we've made one more heart. We've got one more to go. So let's go ahead and finish it up together. We'll find that first double crochet there. Make a single crochet, followed by a double crochet, and another double crochet, followed by a single crochet. There we are. Pull up a little bit more of my yarn. We're so close to the end, of course, just like everybody else. Gotta pull up more yarn right as we get to the end, right? Then we want to slip stitch right into the center of that one right there. find our last double crochet right there and work a single crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and single crochet in the last. Now, what I like to do, of course, we could slip stitch right here and then break our yarn. Personally, I prefer, let me put that down here so it won't roll away, to go ahead and cut my yarn. And then I will find one of my yarn needles here out of my little selection. And then what I like to do to finish it up here is just pull up on that bit there rather than slip stitching with it first. You can see it's kind of unconnected to everything right now. But I'm just going to go ahead and put that end right on my yarn needle, like I would anyway for weaving in the ends. And then rather than crocheting it to that little bit there, I'm just going to go ahead and use my yarn needle to sew it down. I like to go back into the top of that stitch. It's called seamless finishing. I often use it when I'm working in the round, especially for motifs and things, but I think it really works well for projects like this too. You can just sew that down really nicely, and then you've already got your yarn on the needle. So of course you can go ahead and weave in your ends. And that's it. That's all there is to it. You can see how those little toppers we added make it look like hearts from this angle and makes it kind of look like a flower from this angle, which I absolutely love. Here, this one's got its ends all woven in and everything, but you can see those are those first 2 rounds. And then we had our first round of crocodile stitches, and our second round, and that very last round, round 7, adds those pretty little hearts that look so pretty from the top as well. And then of course you can just slide your jar in there. And I love this because you can pull the jar out and wash it if, you know, you do put food or something in there if you want to get the little lids for them. Or you can fill them with whatever you like. So that is how to make the Say Oui Jar Cozy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really appreciate the lovely comments and everything and all of the support. And I hope, you know, it inspires you to take some of your Bernat Blanket and make other little quick projects like this. It's a lot of fun to use up those leftover odds and ends to make quick little projects like this that are, I think, really festive, especially for the holidays and really any time of year. I think this would look really sweet on your table. So we'll go ahead and come back to the other camera. Once again, thank you all so much for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun making the Say Oui Jar Cozy, and I hope you'll give it a try as well. And I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day and a wonderful rest of your day. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.